everyone. Myself Amrita Tiwari, Assistant Professor, CSC Department, Akgec Engineering College. Today is my first lecture on a software engineering subject, Sdlc and Waterfall model. We will see what is Sdlc, Software Development Life Cycle, and over that we can see what is a waterfall model. These are the outlines of my PPT. First of all, we will see briefly what is the software development life cycle, and then followed by this, we will see what is the waterfall model. So, SDLC, as the name says, software development life cycle. It is a well-defined structure, sequence of stages in a software engineering to develop the intent software product. So, for developing any software, what are the requirements, what are the costs, what are the actors involving in that, what are the different stages, maintenance stage, coding phase, all this, the overall working, how the software is developed are divided into a number of stages or number of phases, and that is known as the SDLC model, SDLC life cycle. So, in SDLC activities, it provides a series of step-by-step to design a software product, very efficient software product. Using this SDLC model, it helps us to understand each phases in a more brief way. So, they divided all the phases in developing the software into a different number of steps. So, let us see what are the different types of steps in the SDLC. First is a stage 1, that is a planning and requirement analysis. In this, what we do, what are the different tasks we do? In this, we do, first of all, we do a planning. First of all, we decide what we want to have a software. We want to produce or develop one software. So, we have to plan according to it. Then, we have to satisfy the stakeholders whose money is in that. So, what is the scope? We have to make them understand what is the scope of the software we are developing. Then, we also set the objectives and goals of our software, why it is very beneficial to develop this software that we are planning to have. Then we have a resource planning. All the resources we want to develop that software, particular software, we will what are the resources required for that, we will plan according to that. So, all this planning phase come under the planning and requirement analysis. What are the requirements for developing that particular software comes under the stage 1. Then there comes a stage 2, where we define the requirements. Now, we have done here the planning. What are the requirements we have? Now, we will analyze it more deeply. We will define that requirements more deeply. First of all, we will define what is the requirements. What are the functional requirements? What are the technical requirements? Then, in functional requirements are the what are the cost, what are the DFD flow diagram, SRS documents, all under this come here. Then, after the requirements are defined, after the functional and non-functional requirements, technical requirements are defined, these are the requirements, all total requirement, then it will be go to the review section. Then we will review as the requirements are legal or not, are they right or not, we will check here. Then after when the requirements are approved, then we will move to the stage 3. Now stage 3 and stage 4 is the most important part of the developing any software. So, in stage 3, the real working comes under. So, here we will design. So, what comes under the design? We will design the SRS document, software requirement analysis, software requirement. SRS document will be specification, software requirement specification. There is one legal design will be there, where all the requirements, all the cost, all what are the tools we are using, how much time it will take, everything comes under one legal document. So, their designing will come. Then, in this designing phase, there will be a high level designing as well as the low level designing. So high level and low level designing means there will be a series of diagrams, activity diagrams, UML diagrams, DFD diagrams, flow charts, deployment diagrams. All the diagrams comes under this designing phase, all the working. Now it is in a papers. Now the actual work is done. It is a development phase. It is a very important phase of the SDLC. In development phase, what we do? In development phase, there will be a coding. We will introduce with the coding. What are the coding we are using for developing that particular software? Then we all, at the last, we also review our code. Then in stage 5, there comes a testing. So we will do a 3 types of testing here. Firstly, there will be a system testing. Then there will be a manual testing. And then will be a automated testing. We will briefly understand this all the steps in further paper slides. And then lastly, there comes a deployment and maintenance phase. When the requirements, when the designing, when the coding, when the testing, all are done, all are perfect, then it is we will be knowing that our software is ready for delivering. So the last stage is for deployment and the maintenance phase, where we will release our software. We will give our software, we are produce our software and we will give to the customer. And maintenance phase comes here if there is any upgradation in that software while developing any software. As you know, in mobile also or in a laptop also, every 4 to 5 months there will be an upgrade. So that's come under the maintenance phase. All the software needs a upgradation. So all the maintenance phase come there, a upgradation. And lastly, there will be also a feedback from the customer, either that software is working properly or not, is there any bug there, is there any more features the customer wants. So all comes under the feedback section. So these are the different types of the stages we introduced while developing any software model. So let us understand all the stages briefly, more briefly. What are the different stages? So firstly come the planning and analysis requirements. So planning is a crucial step in everything, just as in a software development. In this same stage, requirement analysis also done by the developers of the organization who want to develop that particular software. So in requirement and planning analysis, what we do, firstly we will plan, firstly we will understand why we want to make one software. Then when we define the scope of that particular software, what is the scope of that particular software, why we are developing that. If we are developing any software, either it is WhatsApp, so firstly WhatsApp when developed, so the founder understand, why developer understand why we want, why it is a need of that particular messenger, why the software WhatsApp is needed. So we should, they have defined the project scope, why it is, what is the scope of that. Then they have set the objectives and goals. What are the different objectives of that and goals, what we require at the last when the software is developed, what we achieve from that product. And then resource planning. Then we plan accordingly what are the resources will be needed for that. We will plan. Here only we will do a planning. There will be a no any plan defining in anything. Just we have to plan. What is the quality of the project is result of the planning. So this is the first stage. Then there comes a defining the requirements. In this stage, now requirements for the targeted software are specified more precisely. In this, we will be getting the approval from the customers, market analysts and the stakeholders whose monies are there, whose money they have, who have funded us. So in this, the SRS document, I have told you software requirement and specification, so fulfilled by the utilization of SRS. In this, a sort of document that specify all the, what is the software. So it's sort of document that specify all the things that is need to be defined and created during the entire project cycle. So these are the defining process. Then we will be having a technical and non-functional requirements, every requirement, and then we will be getting the reviews and approved by that requirements. Then third stage comes defining architecture. So SRS is a reference for the software designers to come up with the best architecture for the software. Here in SRS, in a designing architecture, we will be having a design document specification, DDDS. DDDS. So what is DDS? It is a like a designing where we make the diagrams for other projects what we have done in the SRS documents. So it is more a practical and logical development. So here flow charts, activity diagrams, UML diagrams, deployment diagrams, decision making diagram, all these diagrams come under the designing phase, that come under the design document specification, DDS. Next is the developing product. This is I have told you earlier, this is the most important and crucial step for the development. So in this the development of the products actually starts. Before that, in last three stages, only a documentation and verbally works are done. Now here, the actual product is now starting. For this, the developer use a specific programming code. Either can be Java, Python, PHP, anything, whatever they suit for that particular software. The specific programming code for designing in the DDS. Hence, the important for the coders here, important is that coder must follow the protocol set by the association. What is the protocols? That on time delivery should be there, coding should, what are the time which are set for the coding should be done within that time period only, that it does not exceed, there should be not more bugs or anything, XYZ, whatever the SRS document there is. So everything will be done, the coder will be done coding under the particular set of the protocols. And the conventional programming tools like compiler, interpreter, debug, etc. are you put in these stages. So here development, then a coding standards, then scalable code, then version code, then a code review will be done. So these are the steps for the development phase. Now next comes a product testing and integration. Now once the coding is done, we have to test that the software is working properly or not according to the requirements of the software. So after the development of the product, testing of software is to be very necessary for the smooth execution. So the minimal testing is conducted at every stage of the SDLC. So to track the flaws and to fix it and to retest it, there comes a product testing and integration phase. We will also done we will divide our code in a small section also. We will test that also. Then we will integrate and check whole code also. So there will be two types of testing, in a small chunks also and as a whole. So for a better understanding of the code. So there will be a system testing also, there will be a manual testing also, there will be automated testing. So three types of testing will be done. And after that, all will be integrated in once, and all the whole, as a whole software will be tested. So here the product testing is done. Last step is the deployment and the maintenance phase. After detailed testing and the conclusive product is released in this phase. So the phase released into the as per the organization strategy. Then it is tested in the real industrial environment. For the smooth import, it is ensured that it's performed as a smoothly. So if it's performed well, the organization send the product as a whole. After retrieve the beneficial feedback, the company releases its auxiliary improvements to make it further helpful for the customer. However, this is not alone enough. There will be along with the deployment, the product supervision. So in this, after releasing the our product, there will be also a maintenance and a feedback with that. So after taking the customer's feedback, we will be upgrade our product accordingly and then release it as a whole. After that, the deployment phase always will be there. If there is any bugs during the using that product, it will be made done with the help of maintenance and the product. There will be a specified team for that. So last stage is deployment and the maintenance of the product. So these are all the phases, 6 phases of the SDLC, software development lifecycle model. So let us understand first one model which is first introduced under the SDLC model, that is a waterfall model. So before that, we should understand what is the need for using the SDLC. So it is a approach or a process that is followed by the software development organization for developing the programs. So to have a discipline and a systematic method for designing a software, the SDLC is a very important because it divides our whole software designing into a small parts, and for dividing into small parts, the problems will be understand and easily be solved in a chunks rather than as a whole. So that's why the software development life cycle is very important for developing any software. So let us understand what is a software model. So waterfall model. So waterfall model, also known as a classical waterfall model, and it is the first model that is introduced in 1970s by the Winston W. Royce. It is a linear and sequential approach to software development that consists of several phases. The phases we have already know what are the different phases, that phases only comes under that. This classical model is very simple and idealistic, as it is a first model. So all the models that are developed after that, which are introduced after that, that is agile, prototyping, iterative, incremental, many models are there. So base model is that waterfall model only, because it is the first model and it is idealistic. It is ideal for the developing more models like that. It was very popular there when it was introduced, but it is not used now, because it is not popular now because it is used for the smaller for developing in smaller products. It is not good for the developing a large number of products or in a large extent. So this is a waterfall model. So let us understand what are the different phases in the waterfall model. Firstly will be a feasibility study, that we have understand what is feasibility study comes under the first, where we requirement analysis will be done. Then requirement analysis and specification. Feasibility study where all the team members, all the organization stakeholder comes under one table and have a talk with each other, why we need that product, why we want to introduce that product. Then once it is okay, then we should develop that particular product. Then the requirement analysis and specification is done. After that, the designing phase comes under, and then coding and unit testing, then integration and system testing, and then last will be the maintenance phase. So these are the different types of phases of the waterfall model. Let us understand all this. Firstly, the requirements. The first phase is involving the requirement, gathering the requirements for the stakeholders and analyzing to understand the scope and objective of that product. We are skipping that feasibility model. Here we only have a talk with the stakeholders and the organization in the team, why we want to develop that particular product. The actual step comes from the requirement and analysis and specification. Then comes the designing phase. In designing phase, what happened? Once the requirements are understood, what are the different functional and non-functional technical requirements, then the designing phase come under, where a design development specification come, as I have told you earlier, where we have different types of diagrams, that is a flow diagram, flow chart, activity diagram, deployment diagram. We design that phase. Then there comes a development phase, where the actual coding is done. What are the different types of coding, different platforms we can use, and in while developing while having a development or we have a coding, we also do a unit testing. So what is a unit testing? In a small chunks we test our code in a small segments. So unit testing to ensure that each component of the software is working as expected. Then there comes a testing, the actual testing, where the whole coding is tested, as the system testing will be done as it is working efficiently or not. Then there comes a deployment phase. In deployment phase, what happened? Once the software has been tested and approved, it is deployed to the production environment, where the production team will have a dates when to release that product and takes feedback from the customer. If there is any upgradation, everything comes under the deployment phase. Then the last comes the maintenance phase, where the final phase of the waterfall model is a maintenance phase, which involves fixing any issues. Any issues comes under the, during development of the model, any software or any issue arises, then the maintenance phase come under that. It will correct it, the any bugs or any illegal activity or anything happens, or any feedback given by the customer, it will be maintained under the maintenance phase. So it continues to meet the requirement over a time. So that's the different stages for the waterfall model. So now the question arises, when to use the waterfall model? So the best suited is when we have the best understood requirements. We have already know that these are the requirements and the requirements are fixed, that there will be no change in the requirements. So when the well understood requirements are there before beginning, the more precise, reliable and thoroughly documentation is if available, then the waterfall model is the best suited. Because sometimes happens in other models, the requirement sometimes changes while developing the software. So if the requirements changes, then the waterfall model cannot be used. So nextly, the very little changes are expected. When there is little bit adjustment is needed, it is generally used for the small, medium to small projects. So during the development phase, when there is small adjustments are to be done, then we can use the waterfall model. Small to medium, as I told you, small to medium size projects is ideal for that. Then predictable products that are predictable, that low risk, there will be a low risk in developing that particular software and able to address early in the development life cycle, are those that have known controllable risk. Lastly, the regulatory compliance is critical and the client prefers a linear and sequential approach. So these are the some measures where if the measures come, if the software we are developing comes under these measures, then we can use the waterfall model for developing our particular project. So these are the some criteria we can say where when would be the best suited for the waterfall model. Then we will see what are the advantages and disadvantages. If we see, advantages are that it is because it is a first model that is introduced in 1970s, so it is very easy and simple to understand and follow. It is highly structured as the SDLC. What are the different SDLC phases? That phases only it acquires. So highly structured, therefore good for the beginners who are the new for the developing any software products that are that is very beneficial for that for the beginners. After specification and complete, low customer involvement is there. As the customer does not interfere, it will only comes, the interference come under when the whole product is developed. So there will be a less interference of the customer. Then documentation is needed at every phase during SRS document, or when document design development specification, and then when we have testing, the documentation is there in every phase. Then maintenance is easier, as it is for good for the small projects. So maintenance is, in comparison to other models, is very easier, and in each phase is carried out completely after all requirement before proceeding to net. So in what happens when this step is completed, then it only goes to the other step. Then when this step is completed, then it goes to next. So let's like this. So when each step is completed, then only it moves to the next phase. So it is the advantages of the waterfall model. But the disadvantage, or what is the disadvantage, that it is less flexible in comparison to the other advanced models that we are using in our current future or in a present way. It is less flexible because new versus existing system comes here. Then freezing the requirement, choosing the hardware, because in waterfall model the requirements are fixed. There will be no changes in the requirements after or in between we are developing the software. So freezing the requirement is not considered to be a good for developing any software, because the requirements can be changed in many times. Then document driven, formal document at the each. There will be a document, as I told you, the advantage is also there is a documentation in each step or in each phase. So documentation becomes very lengthy way while developing a software. So this is not good for in any. Now the technologies are so fast, and documentation in each phase is not considered to be a good. So these are the disadvantages of the waterfall model. So at last, I want to conclude my presentation or lecture 1 that waterfall model is a good conventional software development process. This model is sequentially technique that provide an easily understood and applied structure framework. The project teams here have a clear roadmap, as the documentation, everything is very fixed. So the project have a very clear vision what they want as a product. So they have a very clear roadmap due to the model methodological evaluation throughout the phases of the requirements, design, implementation, testing, deployment, and the maintenance phase. So for the beginners or that are very new for developing any product, or and they are new for developing a small products, so it is very beneficial. As it is a base model for the models we are using in today. So waterfall model is very good conventional model for using today in today's life cycle. So that's all from my side. We will be continuing more lectures on the software engineering series. Thank you.